A very good afternoon. Thanks for staying tuned to CNN News 18. I'm Kritsween Walia, and we start with some tragic news coming in. India's iconic Bollywood singer Asha Bhosle, who's best known for her soulful voice, is no more, and that confirmation has come in just a couple of minutes ago. She breathed her last at Mumbai's Breach Candy Hospital after suffering a cardiac arrest at the age of 92. She has sung, remember, blockbuster songs like Sharara, Radha Kaise Na Jale, Tumse Milke, Sapne Mein, songs that are sung to date. And remember, she is one of the greatest and most influential singers in Hindi cinema. Passes away at 92. Remember, she was hospitalized on Saturday, and ever since, several wishes have been pouring on social media of a speedy recovery. But just now, that unfortunate piece of news coming in. Veteran singer Asha Bhosle no more. Yasha Kotak joins us with more details. Yasha, what more do we have? Has the hospital confirmed the same?
So yes, just a while back, the hospital authorities at Breach Candy, apart from that, her son Bhosle was also present here, and she was a cultural minister, Ashish, Shelar. All of them were present here. In fact, we'd seen late last night as well, cultural minister Ashish Shelar had visited Breach Candy Hospital. When we'd spoken to our hospital sources last night, they had said that she was admitted, with the complaint of chest infection late last evening. In fact, she was brought in an unconscious condition to the hospital. Following it, she was admitted in the ICU and was in a critical condition. However, just a while back was where we heard from her family, from the government authorities as well as from the hospital authorities, stating that after being admitted in the ICU was where she could not recover from the chest infection, and she lost her life. Now, the update coming in from the family and government is that tomorrow between 11 to 3 is where her mortal remains will be kept at her residence at Lower Parel for the last respects to be paid by fans, by people who want to come and pay tributes. Today until the end of the day is where the mortal remains would still be at the hospital. The family members who would want to come and even last visit Asha Bhosle at Breach Candy would be coming in here. Following which tomorrow at 4 p.m. at Shivaji Park is where her last rites would take place. Now let us recollect that her sister Lata Mangeshkar also had her last rites take place at Shivaji Park as well, and that is in fact one of the places where we see that the Mangeshkar family usually reverse or pays tribute to their the family members. When it comes to the iconic songs, some of the national winning songs that Asha Bhosle played, and she was particularly known for that the melodious voice, the sweet voice that she had, and which is where from the songs at Tal, or for that matter from even Le Jayenge, she was known for those iconic songs, and which is where now at the age of 92 was where when she was admitted at Breach Candy, there were already prayers pouring in from across various parts across the media fraternity, wishing for her recovery. However, we've seen that even early this morning was where the Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself had prayed for speedy recovery of Asha Bhosle with her. But after suffering from chest infection and having been brought to Breach Candy was where she's just breathed her last just a while back at this very hospital. Yes.
Tell us about her hospitalization a little bit. Now, we're already seeing Yash on social media since Asha Bhosle ji had a career spanning over 8 decades, recorded thousands of songs across multiple languages. She is one of India's most versatile and celebrated voices. So from Bollywood classics to ghazals, pop, her voice really defined generations, and music was almost synonymous with her voice in India. So as news of her passing breaks, there are tributes pouring in from across the country, and India has lost one of its most iconic musical legends. But just tell us a little bit about what had ensued since Saturday. She was hospitalized due to a chest infection. You've confirmed that for us, but reports also suggest she suffered a cardiac arrest following this.
When it comes to the cardiac arrest reports, yesterday, yes, she was brought into the hospital complaining of chest infection. She was unconscious. In fact, the doctors have gone further to confirm the same. However, it was not a cardiac arrest that took place yesterday night. In fact, She was unconscious and was admitted to the ICU, where she was still undergoing treatment. Like you've been speaking about, yes, a career spanning more than 8 decades is something, that in fact Asha Bhosle went through right from, her debut in late 1940s to, her reaching that kind of a stage, a pedestal in 1957 with Naya Daur and several other songs which are still, iconic and sung today, is where we saw that Asha Bhosle in fact holds a special place for people across generations. In fact, right behind me you see at Bridge Candy Hospital as well. So far, tight police bandobast has already been put into place. There are cops and police security which has been deployed outside the hospital. Yes, we saw that the government had already started making arrangements. Yesterday, Ashish Shelar had visited the hospital to take a stock of the situation, to understand her condition. Clearly so, because he's a cultural minister and that would be under his portfolio. And today as well, while the family visited, the family decided to make this very announcement. And now, because we've seen that has been announced, is where there'll be several family members who would be paying visit, and which is where there's been police security which has been deployed, making way for them. In fact, we'd seen her granddaughter as well, taking to social media yesterday, asking for people to in fact pay for a speedy recovery and not have any kind of speculations put into place. But despite the efforts by the hospital doctors right here, is where she could not recuperate from the chest infection, and that's where she lost her life. Yes.
Okay, 4 p.m. Asha Bhosle's last rites at Shivaji Park is what we're learning, and also flashing those details on our screens. And we'll keep talking about several tributes that are coming in for the legendary singer, passing away at 92, one of the most influential, the greatest voices of Indian singing in Hindi cinema. We'll talk about that in just a bit, Yasha, and what's lined up for later this evening. There are tributes coming in already. Let's play out some reactions too.
बड़े दुख की खबर है कि श्री आशा भोसले जी का आज निधन हो चुका है और उनको मेडिकल प्रॉब्लम थी, उनको मल्टी ऑर्गन फेलियर था, उस कारण उनका निधन हुआ है। सर कितनी बार
आज संपूर्ण देश आणि महाराष्ट्र अखंडपणे दुःखात बुडला आहे। एका युगाचा अंत झालाय। आपल्या आशाताई आपल्यातला निघून गेलेत। आशाताईंचं असणं हेच आपल्या सगळ्यांना।
Yasha Kota continues to stay on with us. Yasha, those are the first reactions coming in. Veteran singer Asha Bhosle passes away at 92. Her condition had been critical the last 24 to 48 hours. She was admitted to the hospital on Saturday after a report surfaced of chest infection. And just a couple of minutes ago, we picked up news of her passing. Yasha continues to take us through more details. Yasha, yes, we've been breaking down details of, the last rites, how all of Mumbai, remember, is going to come out to pay their respects to the legendary singer. 4 p.m. Shivaji Park is where the last rites will take place, is what we're learning. What more can you tell us?
Yes, for that matter, when it comes to Asha Bhosle, not only in the Bollywood but also within the Marathi film circles, was something that she was really respected and revered. When it comes to the Mangeshkar family, they've been quite active in the cultural circles as well, and which is where we saw, right here also, when just a couple of years back was where in fact her sister Lata Mangeshkar had passed away, was where we'd seen a sea of fans had gathered to pay their tributes, and possibly tomorrow as well we'd expect the same. And when you speak of the last rites, so far of course preliminary information coming in that at 4 p.m. at Shivaji Park was where the last rites would take place. Tomorrow from 11 to 3 right here, after the ends today, was where her mortal remains will be taken from Bridge Candy Hospital to her residence at Lower Parel, where from 11 o'clock to 3 p.m. was where there'll be fans, there'll be well-wishers could come and pay their last tributes. They could pay their last respects to Asha Bhosle, and then from there to Shivaji Park is where there'd be the last rites that will take place. So like we've been speaking about earlier as well, Shivaji Park was the same place, same where there was this last rites had taken place for Lata as well. It was in fact gathering where there were several people across the faculties who in fact attended that. We'd expect the same kind of tributes coming in for Asha Bhosle as well tomorrow. So of course preliminary information that has been shared by the family members, or for that matter by the hospital authorities and the government as well. But so far we've seen that as soon as this was announced, there were people from across the political circles as well in Maharashtra, including Awaaz, who was the earlier opposition leader in the upper house of the assembly, who's gone further to pay tributes to Asha Tai, as she was fondly called, because clearly Tai in Marathi means an elder sister, and here for be it across the political circles, for that even across the Bollywood lines, she was always fondly called as Asha Tai, as in the elder sister to everyone. Here, of course, the death of Asha Tai is something that Maharashtra is mourning, as someone who was that sweet voice that people always would fall back upon. But of course, we have to wait to get more details from the hospital and the family members about for the arrangement that will take place. Because so far, yes, the mortal remains continue to be at Bridge Candy Hospital, from where we are reporting right now, right outside Bridge Candy Hospital. But today, we'd also expect some more family members to be coming in, to pay their respects to Asha Bhosle right there, and then following which tomorrow is where we'd expect people across the political as well as the Bollywood circle to be visiting at her place at Lower Puri.